Look, we all know the market is flooded with endless bullet options. But when you're staring down that once-in-a-lifetime tag, you don't need marketing hype. You need proven terminal performance. So today, we're stripping away the noise and giving you a fast-paced ballistics brief on some of our top sleeper ammo picks. I've got Gregg Sloan with me today for another ballistics brief. I'm your host, Dale Evans. Gregg, we want to kind of do this a little different than we normally do for our ballistics brief. Normally, it's just I turn the mic over to you for 12 minutes. You rattle off as much as we can. We kind of follow up.
Right.
This one is a little different because I want to kind of go through and think of it from different sizes of cartridges, if you want to say it that way, right? Like, more standard traditional cartridges, some magnums, and then maybe some other type of cartridges that we're not even thinking about that the audience should be thinking about. But there's these little like sleeper picks that I think kind of fly under the radar for the normal consumer, if you want to call it that, right? There's people that know, and it seems like that's all they want to shoot, but then it just kind of falls to the wayside, if you will. So can you give me, let's say, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 of the standard kind of cartridges, what you would call sleeper picks in our ammo lines?
Yeah. Let's start here. Standard cartridges. I'm going to start one that's not, this one's going to sound pretty mainstream at first.
Yeah.
Just because of the popularity of the cartridge over the last, I'm going to say probably 15 years, give or take. And that's a 6.5 Creedmoor.
6.5 Creedmoor, okay.
Pretty standard. There's a lot of 6.5 Creedmoor ammo out there, a lot of good options. Barnes makes some awesome options in the ammo world of 6.5 Creedmoor. But one that I want to make sure people know about, and if you haven't tried it, give it a shot, is the Barnes Harvest collection ammo, 6.5 Creedmoor with the 140 grain TGK load. That load stands out to me. It's great. High quality ammo for one. I mean, Harvest offers a lot of value. It's a high performing, tip game king projectile, good BC, good bullet construction, good terminal performance, loaded by Barnes, great components, good quality control, good manufacturing processes, really consistent velocity, quality ammunition at a really good price. But that 6.5 Creedmoor 140 really sticks out to me in all my experience of testing and development with it. It is insanely accurate. And I think that's easy to say, they're accurate. I'm going to talk about some others that's like, hey, this is a standout because it's accurate.
Yeah.
But that load is crazy accurate. I mean, I've shot it personally in multiple rifles. Forget the test barrels, that are in return to battery machine rests, linear bearing machine rests. I'm talking just take a rifle, go out to the bench, shoot multiple groups on paper. And these aren't even high-end, I'm not talking $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 custom builds. These are like Remington 700s, Savage Ultralight. These are production rifles, pretty available.
Yeah.
Off the shelf setups, and you're grabbing this ammo. And I've shot multiple, not just I got lucky and I shot one good group, like multiple repeatable half MOA or better groups. I can specifically talk to. We had a few of us at Barnes that shot an NRL hunter match this past couple months ago. And a few of them shot 6.5 Creedmoor, and it was last minute deal, didn't have time, borrowed guns, those kind of things where it's just throw something together. At the time, we didn't have some availability of our precision match ammo in 6.5 Creedmoor, and it was not time to hand load. So we had some Harvest, grabbed it, went out and zeroed it. I grabbed a Remington 700. It was a heavy barreled like 5R.
Yeah.
And literally it was 0.2, 0.3, 5-shot groups.
Yeah.
Multiple.
Right.
I mean, guys shooting it. I think the worst group we shot out of that was a 1/2 inch, 5-shot group.
Nice.
Went and competed with it in NRL. Obviously, it's not match ammo, but it is match accurate. And it's great BC. There's no reason you couldn't go shoot a match with it.
Right. Well, and I mean, for me personally, right, going back to that Montana deer hunt that we did last year, I was shooting 6.5 Creed, and I shot the Harvest, and I killed that mule deer, what was that, 240 yards or something like that, and literally dropped him right where it was. So not only is it crazy accurate, but it's got some pretty dang good terminal performance on it in its given space.
Yep. And for sure, I've talked about this before with Harvest. When we launched Harvest, we obviously worked with our sister company, Sierra. We load the Sierra Tip Game King. It's a great bullet. But we wanted to do the testing in-house as well. You know, we're all about terminal performance at Barnes. And so we went and shot, 100-yard gel, ballistics gel, 300-yard gel, 600-yard gel with that line. And this 6.5 140 was one of really stood out there too. Good performance, good penetration, good weight retention, good expansion. It's a really good cup and core projectile, that tip Game King.
Okay. So 6.5 Creed, got something else for me?
I do. This one's going to be a little bit different, and I think is a perfect definition of what we're looking at here, kind of a sleeper pick, maybe something that's not in front of people, and it's kind of flying under the radar. And that's a 270 Winchester, but the 110 grain TTSX loaded in VOR-TX.
I could only imagine that thing has got some speed behind it.
Yeah, it's screaming. Muzzle velocity on it is 34. I actually wrote it down to make sure I got it right. 3410 feet per
out of
second.
the 270 that's not a Magnum,
Yep.
right? And being that it's 110 grain TTSX, it's still going to have great
Right.
terminal performance. And now you're going to be able to extend that 270 out a little bit, I would assume.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, so obviously there's a trade-off of it's 110 grain.
Right.
So it is going to have lighter, it's lighter, it's going to have lower BC, but it's still a TTSX. It's got a decent BC. And with that velocity on its side, like it's crazy fast, crazy flat. And, we've talked about this before. We're all about, I think there's a time and a place for everything, right? But I don't think you can ignore the advantage of a point and shoot gun, I like to call it.
Yeah.
I'm all about the latest, greatest technology and optics and scopes and target turrets and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to just simple, this gun, that load can run a 300-yard zero.
Yeah, that's where I was going to get at.
You are less than 7 inches of drop at 400 yards.
That sounds like a perfect antelope, whitetail deer sitting in a cornfield or something like that.
And it's still a TTSX. It's still going to penetrate good. It's still, even at close range, if you shed every pedal on this bullet at high velocity, it's still going to work great.
Right.
It's still a shank with 80+% weight retention driving forward.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hesitate to use it on mule deer, antelope, even black bear, depending
whitetails,
whitetail would be awesome, hogs.
Yeah.
But yeah, 270 win. So, sheep would be great. Yeah, but not everyone wants to talk about 270 win in today's ammo world with all these new cartridges, but maybe something like this 110 grain TTSX loaded in VOR-TX kind of makes it exciting and fresh and new. And maybe you want to dust off the 270 win, take it out of the safe, and go take it on a deer or antelope hunt this year with a crazy flat, fast, just point and shoot type load.
Yeah. One thing that I did see on your list was a 300 Wisdom. And 300 Wisdom has kind of got a little bit of a resurgence lately. Can you tell us about this 300 Wisdom 165 grain TTSX load?
Yeah, so we load 300 Wisdom in VOR-TX. Obviously, standard. We do a 150 grain and a 165. I like the 165 personally. It's accurate, it's flat, it's fast. You're still getting, I think 30. I wrote it down. 3130 is a muzzle velocity. It's a great cartridge. Super accurate. There's nothing big game wise you can't go hunt with the 165 TTSX and a 300 Wisdom. It's a great option. And I also point to, I've had a few, me personally, I haven't never purchased or built a 300 Wisdom, but I have for some friends and family members. I've put some rifles together and shot this ammo out of it. And I've had multiple, at least 2 rifles that I can remember that shot literally half MOA with this ammo. Good accuracy, great velocity, good terminal performance. So any 300 Wisdom shooters out there, or if you're looking for a 30 cal Magnum, 300 Wisdom is still a very valid option.
Yeah, but having that short action, right? Everything like that. So let's go from the short Magnums, right, to Magnums in general. And one that you had on your list that I'm near and dear to my heart personally, which I was very surprised that it was on your list as a sleeper pick, because I've been hand loading this bullet for this cartridge for a very long time. 7 rim mag with 140 grain TTSX.
Yeah, it's a great option. Obviously in today's world, 7 PRC is crazy popular. We sell 3 different 7 PRC loads now. They all do extremely well. But don't forget about the 7 rim mag. And even with that, the 139 VOR-TX LR is a great option. We offer the 150, we offer the 160 TSX, all great options. But if it was me picking, if I had to bet which one's going to shoot out of your gun better, that 140 is just forgiving. It's not finicky. The bullet works great. It's still getting good velocity. It's heavy enough, even for elk, and even out to 500 yards. I wrote down a few numbers just so I'd have them. That load's 3,100 at the muzzle. At 500 yards in standard conditions, you're still going over 2,000 feet per second retained velocity.
Wow.
So, it's still pretty dang impressive.
Still moving.
And again, put that in reality. Most shots, even out west, are still 300-400 yards. That's more the average.
Right.
And so it's still crazy capable. A lot of 7 Red Mag rifles in the world.
I've personally, again, like I said, I was hand loading this bullet almost 20 years ago at this point, 4.7 Red Mag. And I don't know how many whitetail, antelope, elk, I've killed bears with it. It just flat out works. And that was, like I said, hand loading. So I could only imagine that the whole reason I started hand loading was because I shot the actual, box ammo first. And I was like, oh, I just want to hand load it anyway. So, okay. Give me another one. What's the next one you want to go to here?
If we're sticking with magnums, there's one I want to talk about that it definitely got a lot of hype, probably 20 plus years ago. Mm-hmm. And when we were kind of in that second magnum craze, and that's the 300 Remington Ultra Mag. But specifically our 180 grain TTSX in the VOR-TX load. We've talked the 180 up before. It's an awesome bullet. It works great in multiple 30 cal Magnum cartridges. That 300 rum, as I'll call it, 300 Ultra Mag, 300 rum load with the 180, that cartridge can be finicky. It's a super Magnum. It's overbore. It's a large case capacity, a lot of powder burning. It can be kind of a nightmare to get good accuracy out of that 300 Ultra Mag.
How many people do you think are still on the Ultra Mag train?
I don't know to say how many, but they're still out there. There's still guys shooting an Ultra Mag. There's still guys with the built rifles or purchased Remingtons or whatever, that they still want to use them, whether it's hunting Western big game or they're
going on a moose hunt or something like that.
There's even guys that use them for, even like way open country coos deer or like even whitetail. I know guys in Texas that use Ultra Mags for whitetail. Not that it's needed, but like you get those
shoot
big
140-pound whitetail.
But if you get a big long shot across an open sendero or something, it's pretty capable.
Yeah.
But that 180 TTSX specifically is forgiving. For sure, the best shooting Ultra Mag load we've ever done.
Okay. Going up a little bit larger in size, we're going to go to a 338 Win Mag.
Yep, 338 Win Mag. Another one that you don't hear a ton about anymore.
Right.
I would say over the years, though, I would dare say 338 Win Mag is probably one of the more popular over 30 cal magnums in America, over the years. Obviously doesn't get a ton of attention these days, but there's still a lot of rifles out there in 338 Win Mag.
I think that the 338 is still a pretty big cartridge when it comes to like Alaska stuff, because obviously, again, going back to moose hunting, brown bear, right?
Yep.
Like that type of stuff. It seems that the 338 kind of really resides up there, but I think that there still are quite a few people in, call it the lower 48, right? That is still using, or maybe even Canada, something like that, right?
Still a lot of them out there. Africa, way good cartridge for Africa.
That's true. I wasn't even thinking about that, right? Like, I've heard a lot of people taking 338 shoot, kudu or something like that, sable, right, at extended distances and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this 225, we have another podcast that's coming up down the line that we've already recorded, talking about elk cartridges, right? And this one got mentioned just because of it being such a traditional style.
Right. It's that traditional classic Magnum, belted Magnum cartridge, 338. But that 225 TTSX is another one, kind of like the 180 in the 30 cal. It functions awesome. It's a huge frontal diameter, large expansion, both up close and downrange. It's got a great BC. It's over 0.5. You can launch it at a good velocity, and it flat out performs. It's accurate. I know, like Connie Brooks, from the previous owners of Barnes back in the day, 338 Win Mag was one of her go-tos, one of her all-time favorites. She's killed game all over this world with 338 Win Mag.
And she isn't a very big woman.
No, she's
right?
not. She's
and that was well before suppressors were around and everything else. So she probably had a giant muzzle brake on that thing.
I'm sure she had a muzzle brake. Barnes, has been known to do some muzzle brakes in house, and I'm sure she probably. I can't remember if she always shot it broke or not, but she's like you said, she's a small statured woman, and it's especially if you go back to some of the older rifles with wood stocks and not the greatest recoil pads, and It's there.
Yeah.
But she did it. She's killed, I don't even know how many head of game. You know, I remember hearing stories of she would go to Africa in one trip and kill just dozens of head of game with a 338.
Jeez.
So
Yeah.
great cartridge.
So definitely kind of that do-all.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, last two ones, and this is getting away from Magnums, getting away from standard, right? But you got a 30-30 on here and a 45-70.
Yep.
30-30 is near and dear to my heart. I think I killed like my first like 15 deer ever with a 30-30. I was definitely shooting a heavier bullet than you have on here, but I think that was well before probably TSX, or I guess TSX was kind of starting to be around. But anyway, you got a 150 grain TSX flat nose on here.
Yeah, the 150 grain, you know, being all copper, you can definitely shoot lighter. 150 is still plenty heavy, and 30-30 to shoot deer, hogs, you know, bear, even elk, depending on the, you know, the range.
Yeah.
You know, obviously it's a lever gun, closer range type cartridge, but it's a 6-sided, big open nose, 6-sided cavity, expands into 6 petals, huge frontal diameter, good penetration, big, large wound cavities. If you don't have, and I know lever guns and 30-30 is crazy popular, right?
Right.
But it's another one that still, it's very classic cartridge, very old school.
Didn't Raylan take his bear with it this year?
I believe he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, here in Utah.
Yep. But awesome choice.
And I would think that with that 150, right? Like, because kind of that traditional weight range is what, like, give or
there's
take?
a lot of like 170 type in lead core.
So being that copper, I mean, now you're getting a little bit flatter. Obviously, a 30-30 is not made to be this long range thing, right? But like 150 yards.
Oh yeah, it's still,
150, right? Like
still capable.
And shooting that 150 TSX, you know, you're still going to have the performance that you need out of it.
Yeah, and if anyone either has a 30-30 that you've been thinking about using to go hunt with, to break it out and have fun with, 30-30 150 TSX flat nose and VOR-TX is a great option.
And finally, that 45-70.
45-70. Yep. So that's another one. This one's the 300 grain. Again, it's a TSX flat nose. The all copper 6-sided. Same thing as the 30-30 for the lever gun. 300 grain is a little bit more on the lighter side for 45-70 hunting loads. But this is full house hunting, you know, built to SAMI pressure though for all 45-70s. But very good performance. You know, guys want to hunt elk, bear, deer, hogs, you name it. If you want to hunt something with a 45-70, it's manageable recoil. I mean, I think I'm going to use like an 1895 type rifle. 45-70s are not the most pleasant to shoot. They're not.
300 grain helps it be a little bit more pleasant.
The 300 grain helps for sure. You know, it keeps it a little more manageable, but the performance is still there.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. Is that everything that you have kind of covered there?
I think so.
All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this ballistic brief. A little different, but you know, we wanted to kind of get this out there because I think it's important for you guys to know, like, truly that full portfolio, but also, you know, what would be Gregg's personal picks if he was going to have to go do one of these kind of like sleeper pick type of things. It's always fun to do these type of things. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this ballistics brief, and we'll see you on the next one.